You're listening to Moviesucktastic.
All right, Joe, now don't get carried away with this.
Don't worry, Peter. I'll only work out during my downtime.
Look out for the sign! What the heck?
I know it. It all sounds like some bad movie.
Anyway, hello, Scott. How are you?
Hello, Joey. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We're doing episode 172 of Moviesucktastic, where we review the Brian De Palma film Wise Guys. And live streamers already told me that my CPU is above 80% and that I should be scared.
That means your CPU is working hard on this episode.
It shouldn't work this hard. Shouldn't work this hard. Fuck. Anyway, this is my challenge to Scott.
Yeah.
It is my challenge to you, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
What did we review last week?
Last week, we
Death
reviewed,
Wish. You challenged
Death
me to Death Wish. Clown Hammer.
Yeah. Clown Hammer.
That's right. And Gino called in, and we did Death Wish, and then I challenged you to Wise Guys, and you have a challenge coming to me.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to that later, obviously. And I had mentioned to Scott today, I have a suggestion. And he doesn't have to take it, but I think it would be a good one. But I'd like to hear your challenge to me first, if you had, whatever it is, and whatever else you might have been thinking of, yada, 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 so on and so forth.
Well, yeah, we'll tackle that.
Okay.
Now, I personally don't think this is going to be too long of an episode. Not to burst anybody's bubble, but
because I love this movie. If you just want to hear one guy gush forever, however long the episode is, that's this episode, and that's me.
I'm not as enamored, and I think I know why. But first, the film, as you said, is a Brian De Palma film.
Yes.
It's probably one of the few comedies he's ever done, if only.
Has he ever done any other comedies?
I mean, off the top of my head, he's done stuff with humor in it, but this is like the only straight comedy that I'll have to peek and cheat. But I don't recall any other comedies by De Palma.
I don't think so.
Like Phantom of the Paradise, you could almost argue but it's not.
Snake
Eyes.
Eyes.
Not a comedy.
Snake
Eyes was fun. Well, Snake Eyes and Mission to Mars were funny, but not intentionally. So that's
right. That's right.
Yeah. No. I think the closest he comes to a comedy besides Wise Guys would probably be. He did his older stuff was comedies. He did Get to Know Your Rabbit, things like that.
Yeah.
This is This is actually the first comedy he did. After decade or so after that stuff, but that was his early film. So in the beginning he did, but once he became Brian De Palma, that was it for comedies. And I've never seen his older comedies. I've never seen Get to Know Your Rabbit, excuse me, or The Wedding Party. So I'm not that familiar with his early comedies. But if they were like this one, I'll probably bypass them.
Yeah. Well, that's you.
That's why I said me.
Yes,
that's why I said me.
I love this movie, and me being a proponent of Newark, New Jersey, this film takes place mostly in Newark, New Jersey. It does go to other parts of New Jersey, but I grew up there, so when I see this movie, it always just makes me giggle a little, because everywhere that they drive around, I know where it is. The Meadowlands, they go to the racetrack, which is still there, which is just as seedy as it is in this movie now as it was 25 years ago. So longer. Actually, this movie's 29 years old now. But I have a soft spot for this movie. I do genuinely like it anyway. even if it didn't take place in New Jersey, but because it does, I have the way Scott has this thing, this little soft spot and just thing for time travel. I'm the same way with films that take place in New Jersey. I just am.
Well, so, I can understand your attraction to the film because it does give a positive role exposure of Italian Americans.
Oh, completely.
I can see why you like. This is the one film involving Italian Americans that you feel that it shows them in a good light.
I don't know. It gets a pass from me. It does.
That's a big pass.
Not really. It's a comedy. Titanic.
Okay.
Hey, we going on the Titanic. That's not supposed to be funny. He's supposed to be delivering a performance of an Italian, and it ain't working. Whereas in this is just your over-the-top mafia goon, guinea wise guy.
But you know what? And I think my problem with the film is it's not over the top. It really isn't. And that's
you don't think Mr. Accavano, Captain Lou Albano isn't over the top?
I think Captain Lou Albano is over the top as a person. I'm talking but for the film as a whole, I don't think it goes anywhere near over the top. I think it tries too hard to be a PG movie, first of all, for a gangster film. Now, this film, one of the screenwriters is Norman Steinberg. This is his second gangster comedy. He wrote Johnny Dangerously 2 years before.
Okay.
And this film,
which was like Irish, had a little bit of an Italian, but Johnny himself was Irish guy. But.
Yeah, but it's a gangster comedy. And just coming from that standpoint, Wise Guys really doesn't have any of the subtlety or sophistication that Johnny Dangerously did.
You're right. This could very easily have been a PG film. You just take out all the swearing and that's it. You're done. PG.
And I obviously say that tongue in cheek, but I think there's a difference between doing a parody and doing a flat out just like a comedy with a certain setting. Mm-hmm. And when you do a parody, you have a lot of leeway. It's a lot easier. Doing a straight comedy is harder because you have to meet reality at a certain level, unless you're doing something like Marx Brotherish and this film never really. It tries too hard to be realistic. At the same time, it never dedicates itself to having any semblance of reality. And it sounds like I'm coming down hard on a comedy, but comedy's hard. So this is why I don't like reviewing comedies. But most of the humor from the film is, and I want to compare this unfairly to Goodfellas. Completely unfairly. I want to compare it to Goodfellas.
Very, very much so.
And here's why.
We can get into the connection, my connection to Goodfellas anyway. So go ahead.
Well, you're Italian.
The fact that this film is called Wise Guys, and the book that Henry Hill wrote was called Wise Guys.
Right.
But because this film existed, they didn't call they had to call that movie something else, and they ended up calling it Goodfellas. So. And then my challenge is involved with that as well, and it all revolves around movies and whatnot being called Wise Guys, and the Goodfellas should have been called Wise Guys, but it wasn't, and my challenge falls in between there somewhere.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. So your unfair connection to Goodfellas. Go.
Well, it's now I read through some other reviews of the film, and a lot of them were either like you, I love this film. And then the other half were, this film sucked. This is a horrible film. You're all insane. This is stupid. There's, really horrible. And I found a common thread amongst most of the really bad reviews like that is almost all of them near the end, the person would eventually say, but maybe that's just because I really don't like Joe Piscopo. And the more I thought about this universal hatred of Joe Piscopo, apparently, it underlined my main problem with the film. And I'm thinking to watch again. Rewatching this, I saw it as a kid way years ago. I never watched it again. I think this is one of those films that was kind of popular to an extent At least, it had lip service because of the star power
Right.
during the 80s when it was made, and then just dropped off the face of the earth. No one cares about it, no one remembers, no one talks about it. When people talk about Danny DeVito, this film does not come up.
It does with me, but you're right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I'm thinking, I'm rewatching this, and I don't laugh out loud. I'm watching it, that's amusing, but some of their performances are good. I mean, they are two good comic actors to an extent, one more than the other, obviously. And I'm thinking, I'm comparing it to Goodfellas, which I've never praised. I mean, I like the film, but I'm not a gangster movie person to begin with, so I'm a bit detached from this whole gangster persona thing.
I'm not either. As surprisingly as that sounds, I have my favorites, and then that's where I keep them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, gotta go Goodfellas, gotta go Godfather.
Then
everything after that, I'm not really, Donnie Brasco, it was okay. Things like that, I don't go crazy.
But I'm not even a Godfather fan.
That's wrong.
See that, and that's what I'm talking about. But I can look to Goodfellas, and again, it's unfair to compare it on a screenwriting level or a filmmaking level, but just as far as a comedic character level, there were parts of that film that were laugh out loud hilarious, and that they were meant to be, because the actors and the dialogue, but mostly the actors, their performance, their character, their charisma, it sold it. And that's something nobody in this film has. If I feel like I'm watching a stage play where
I think Lou Albano's got it.
I think Lou Albano is just not even acting. So
I love fucking Frank. Lou Albano is Frankie the Fixer. For me, it doesn't get any better than Lou Albano as Frankie the Fixer. I think he's fucking great in this movie.
But what I'm saying is, like, everybody feels like they're just walking to their position, saying the lines loud enough so you can hear them, acting a little bit, but then moving on for the next scene. There's no chemistry at all, not even like amongst characters, just with the audience. I don't feel, and scenes that should be should be funny are drawn out way too long. There's way too much time between the laughs that are supposed to be there, and the few times that are genuine they feel too forced because there's too much lead up to them, like the part where Danny DeVito sent out to start the car,
which is on now, ironically
right
enough.
Now. The concept,
I disagree with all of this.
the concept is hilarious. It's like, go start the car. I was like, oh Jesus, he takes so long to do it. And De Palma, who's known for like a lot of his camera moves, the only kind of camera move he does in this film that is reminiscent of his other stuff is when he does the 360 when DeVito goes to start the car and the whole street clears. But he does it with that slapstick fast motion to get everybody off the street quickly. And by doing that,
it takes forever.
If it takes forever, it's because he's like, okay, if I'm going to speed up the camera to make everybody clear, I'm going to slow the camera down so everyone has time to clear. And so everybody speeds up, but we take so long to do the establishing shot that the joke's gone, like a quarter of the way through, and just like, oh, all right, and we're still doing this. And then he takes so long, like there's keeping tension, and then the tension removes the comedy.
I don't think so.
It's just not funny. I mean,
it's
not.
It is funny.
Now, when I say I didn't laugh, I'm not talking like GrooveTube. I didn't laugh, or what the fuck was that?
I get what you're saying.
I'm just saying everything was like mildly humorous. Was like, oh yeah, no, I get it. I think the most annoying, supposedly funny part was Joe Piscopo's
What at the racetrack?
He did it like 3 or 4 times in the film, at the racetrack, at the uncle's house.
Just as over the top. Yeah.
I don't know where that came from, or if it was meant to be a signature.
Knowing Joe Piscopo, he just did it on the spot.
But no one told him to stop.
Yeah, true.
Brian should have been, Joe, that was interesting, but how about we do this instead? Because that's just disturbing and not even close to humorous. Now again,
I mean, this is at a time where Joe Piscopo is only maybe 2 years removed from Saturday Night Live, so he still had a little bit of that, star power because of it, and they were very trusting of him in this film. And again, you didn't like that. I didn't mind it. I don't think he does it enough to piss me off.
You didn't mind it, but was it good? Was it funny? Was it anything? No.
I don't mind it.
I'm not saying this is
Giuseppe 1980. He says Joe Piscopo is a national treasure. I don't even know if he's a New Jersey treasure, but
I'm not saying the film's bad, even though it is. What I'm saying is that it's a failure on the level that it's trying to be. For me, it hits home at the end, and we haven't even talked about the plot of the movie. But it's an Italian and a Jew.
Which is super easy.
It's like a bad joke. An Italian and a Jew accidentally rip off a mobster and then try not to die.
Yeah. Well, essentially the story is because they're both bumbling idiots. They're basically the gophers for the Mafia in New York. Mr. Costello, he wants them to bet on a horse for him. And of course, since he always bets on the horse and he loses, they decide that it's a great idea to bet on their own horse because he's going to lose anyway. But what they don't know is Costello actually fixes the race so that he'll make a lot of money and they get fucked. They were supposed to put $10,000 on the number 2 horse.
Now, here's my point.
In the number 2 race.
Here's my point. The time it took you to describe that scenario is too long for that scenario. And the setup for that scenario is longer than that.
Well, yeah.
Now, the idea of 2 bumbling gophers for the mob, like, falling into some kind of circumstance where suddenly they're on the run from the entire mob or starting like a mob war or something like that, that's a good concept. This is a good concept. The problem is every step of the setup takes 10 minutes because we're making a movie for a PG. This film had to be PG.
It's rated R.
I didn't even look. It's rated R?
Yeah.
You got to be shitting. Why does this film have an R rating? What could possibly be the reason this film has an R rating?
Just swearing.
He says fuck once at the end. Was there another fuck in that film that I didn't hear?
Well,
hold on.
No. And I have I have a feeling I know why.
Oh, there's a parent's guide. Let me find a parent's guide.
No, hold on. Let me explain.
This parent's guide. Go ahead. I'm sorry. After you.
No, I was just going to say I have a feeling I know why. You didn't hear a lot of swearing in this film. I checked the runtime when I went and did homework on the movie, on the wiki and whatnot. Well, the runtime, the official runtime, the runtime on my DVD is 100 minutes. Okay? The version of the film we have is 91 minutes.
We got an edited version of this film?
Yes.
All right.
So there's 9 minutes of this film that we didn't see. And when I watched it, I felt like something was missing. And then that's, when I did homework today, I was like, fuck, no wonder why. There's supposed to be a lot more swearing in this movie.
Let me go through the parent's guide on IMDb, which we have to start making this a regular feature of the show because I love the parent's guide.
Okay.
Sex and nudity. And actually, I have somebody who wants to read the parent's guide for us, so we could have like a separate segment where we hear the parent's guide read to us.
Oh, we just give them the film and they'll record it on their own?
Or give them the parent's guide and they'll read it on their own and we'll replay it later. But anyway,
that's what I just said.
Sex and nudity. Harry and Moe are hanging out in their suite bathroom with several scantily clad women in one scene. Parentheses, no nudity. So it's a sex and nudity warning without nudity. Some suggestive dancing by some Atlantic City showgirls in one scene. They are in bikinis. No nudity. Violence and gore. Some blood is present in a couple of shootings. That's it. Profanity. Strong but infrequent language. 15 plus uses of the F word. Now, I only heard maybe I don't remember all the fucks because maybe half of them were by Lou Albano, who was almost incomprehensible through most of the film. So maybe that's why I'm remembering less fucks. But only one I remember is the one at the end by Joe Piscopo. And it's like, wait a minute. First of all, this character says fuck, and then it's like I don't remember any other fucks. alcohol, drugs, and smoking. The fixer smokes in a couple of scenes, and his goons rush to light his cigarette each time. First of all, that's incorrect.
Yeah, it's actually Mr. Costello that they do that with.
Right. And then frightening / intense scenes. No entry. So, how does that get in R? That's what threw me up.
Just swearing alone. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. But there should have
The
been
film
more.
probably would have done better if it was PG or PG-13.
I think this film would have been done better if it was shot for an R like it was an R and not had a feel of a PG-13 film. If this film was, if you just all you would have to do to sell is it's Goodfellas but a comedy. I'm in. There you go.
This came out 4 years before Goodfellas, but
I'm talking about after the fact. I'm just saying. Obviously, that's not how they were going to pitch it before Goodfellas was made. But
The Godfather, but funny.
My point is,
yes,
it's going for this kind of mobster mentality, but it just feels lighter, like it's just being toned down.
Mm-hmm.
And the setup for all the jokes is way too long. The whole spiel where Danny DeVito's like, "No, we should use this money to bet on the different horse." In reality, I'm sure it would take much longer to convince his partner to use the mobster's money to do something different.
Sure.
Right, but in the film, please let's not dedicate 10 minutes to this.
You're looking at a movie that's 60 minutes if you don't have this extra stuff. Otherwise, you're throwing in more shit.
Please, for the love of Christ, please let it be 60 minutes. Because by the time they get to Atlantic City way too early. Because by the time they get there, I'm like, good, movie's over, right? Because there's just not enough humor in the film, and one of the big focal points of the film, or arcs, I can't think of the proper term, is the mobsters decide that since they wouldn't turn on each other when they found out what happened and they separately tortured them, they put a hit on each other to kill their friend, so if the other one doesn't know it. Now there's a setup for a classic comedy where the two friends are trying to kill each other and coming to terms with it. They propose it, they deal with it for like 5 minutes, and then they drop it for most of the film after that. It doesn't come up again until it has to at the end. It's like a major plot point that becomes, let's not bring that up because we're having too much fun with them saying, "Thank you, Mr. Acavano," which is probably the funniest part of the movie.
Thank you, which I still use to this day.
Me too. Even though for a while I forgot what film it came from, which is not good. So, but that's my point.
The guy I work with, I lent this film to him so we could watch it, and he can never remember Acavano. So I said, remember avocado, but put a C in there. And he still can't do it, so he just says avocado every time. Yeah, it's as funny as it gets.
And the humor goes from like morbid, where the friend's trying to warn the part. Maybe one of the funniest parts in the film that maybe would have been funnier if the film could decide whether it was like a kid's film or adult film, was when the friend of theirs, the waiter from the bar, is trying to tell them that they're being set up, and he's like, "Do what I do. Do what I do."
Ray Sharkey?
And then what?
Ray Sharkey?
Sure. And then
you don't know who Ray Sharkey is?
No.
Really? I'm surprised.
Why?
Well, no, he died of AIDS at 40 years old because he was cocaine and sharing dirty needles using heroin. He was like this, this bright star, this actor that was going to take over the world. He just like his career was just getting started, but he just could not get away from drugs. And he was just kind of like this Hollywood bad boy, but he was so bad he ended up fucking getting AIDS and dying. I'm just surprised you don't know who he is. Apparently
he wasn't good enough for me to know who he was. So,
well, he didn't really do much because he fucking died so young. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, there you go. Well, my point is the scene where he's saying, "Do what I do," and then they shoot him, and so he's like grabbing his chest and trying to breathe, and they're doing the same thing. That part's funny, and it just hit home that this is the kind of morbid humor we should be dealing with every 5 minutes of this film, and instead it just keeps going back to this kind of maudlin humor to we're going to open a part Italian, part Jewish deli. Ha ha! So why is this even part of the film? It's not even as funny. That's not even funny in the time it takes to say it.
Yeah.
It's like, you can get corned beef and cannoli. Wow, this is, first of all, Yeah, exactly. See, now it is. It's just beyond pedestrian, and mix
Well,
that
that
with
the church that scene is happening in, that's St. Lucy's Church. That's the church I was baptized in. That's my family's church. When he's shooting like the when he's shooting Mary in the face. I don't know. I just find that funny. It just makes me laugh. Yeah,
and that's great. But the fact that you're baptized there somehow doesn't make it funnier for me.
it shouldn't, and it won't, but it does for me.
Right.
It's like when she got shot in the face, some priest was pouring water on my head right around that spot.
And I think all I'm saying is that, as a whole, the film is just not funny.
I think you're wrong. But that's your personal preference. Me,
well, all right, okay.
I love this movie. I think it's funny. I don't know. That's me.
But when you say it's your personal preference, obviously...
I'm not trying to convince you that it's funny. I find it funny.
But when you say that, it's assumed that everything anybody says in a review is what they think. So saying that doesn't make any sense.
It makes perfect sense.
No, it doesn't, because it's understood. We're not talking about scientific fact here. We're talking about reviews of entertainment.
Yeah.
That's what you think. No, that's just what I'm saying, and I'm giving examples to back up what I think about the film. It's just as you are.
I can't give any examples. It's like everything you're saying about how you find enough funny. I can't just turn it around and go, no, you're wrong, and this is why it's funny.
Yes,
because
you can. But you can. And that's why I don't say, and that's why every time you disagree with me and say, but I thought that part was funny, I don't say, well, that's what you think. Because obviously that's what you think. You just said it. That's not part of the argument. That's not part of the debate. We know that we're here, that we're going to have different ideas. The debate is, okay, state your case. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. And again, I'm not here to convince you that it's funny.
And Joe Piscopo just was never really that funny.
You're right. I don't think he is that funny. I think everybody around him is just funnier.
I think
Danny DeVito, he's just Danny DeVito. How do you not love Danny DeVito?
Yeah, but even Danny DeVito's not that good in this film. I mean, I've seen Danny DeVito. You take him out of, like, compare him in this, and I know it's a different character, but compare him in this. What? What'd you say?
No, I said to what? Twins?
Compare him in this to, and he was better in Twins. So, all right, yeah, I'll use that example. But compare him in this, like,
no, he's definitely better in Twins.
I mean, Ruthless People.
Ruthless People. Okay, that's a good one.
I mean, different kind of character, but there's just more. I mean, even more subdued. He was better in fucking
Romancing the Stone.
Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. He's only in that for like 5 minutes.
I'm not denying any of this.
War of the Roses. He was great in War of the Roses. Thank you, Giuseppe. It's just
War of the Roses was good. I like some of the outtakes where he does. He's sitting in the director's chair because he directed that one, and it's this big, wide, panning shot, and he goes, "We're $9 million under budget." Anyway, I'm sorry.
My feeling watching this is that just the fact that this is De Palma doing a comedy 12 years or so after he used to do 70s comedies, you look at it and you think, okay, here's the man who did comedies, got a name, started doing the films he wanted to do, and then after like a decade and a half said, hey, let me do a comedy again, and did a comedy exactly the way he would have shot it in the 70s. And it doesn't work in the 80s. Yeah, and it doesn't with the subject matter in the 80s. It's like 80s. It's 80s subject matter. It's an 80s film, and it's still shooting it like it's 1968, 1973. It has that really slow pacing of a comedy from that time period.
And I didn't have time to look this up, but I think he is. De Palma's from New Jersey, right? Born in Newark?
I think so. I don't remember.
Well, no, I think it's important to the reason why he did this movie. If you can look that up real quick. If I look it up, my computer's going to fucking crash
look.
again.
I'm looking, but why is that important? Yeah, he was born in Newark.
Only because, if I remember correctly, he wanted to make this movie in Newark because he's from Newark. He wanted to make a mobster movie a Jersey mobster film. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why this film was made at all.
That's great, and he failed doing it. That's Married to the Mob is probably a more realistic portrayal of like organized crime than this film is. And it's a comedy; it doesn't have to be realistic. But when you're aiming for that kind of realism, and there are some people in this film playing gangsters that could really play a real gangster, like
Frank Vincent.
He's
a Scorsese favorite.
Yeah, they're playing real gangsters, not a real gangster film.
I mean, the respect everyone had for De Palma, if he told you, we're going to shoot a movie, and it's going to be a steaming pile of shit for an hour and a half, with the steam coming off of it, everyone would say, "Okay, Brian, where are we going to shoot it?" That was the respect that he had. That's why he was able to get all of the stars he did in this movie.
Well, yeah, sure. And this is after Body Double, Scarface, Blowout, Dressed to Kill. Yeah, he's made a name for himself. And he's made a name for himself doing very realistic, gritty films. And I almost want to say he tried to do something that he was not. And he did this. He shot himself in the foot again when he did Bonfire of Vanities. Same fucking thing happened. Oh, I'm going to make kind of a comedy. And that was adapted from a very, very well-respected novel, too. So, I mean, there's a whole different story about why that sucked balls, but he did the same thing again. It's like, oh, I'm going to shoot a comedy, but he doesn't have that comic timing, or he lost it or something. He just can't. He can do humor in a film, but he can't do a humorous film.
Okay.
I mean, that's just my, I think the funniest film he ever did was Raising Cain. Which, if I could find a copy of the movie, that might be your challenge to you.
I'm sure I can get my hand. Do I have it on DVD? I might have it on DVD.
I have a fan edit of the film.
I don't know why I have it on DVD, but I think I do.
Well,
I have to look through my collection.
I acquired a fan edit of Raising Cain. It's like, oh, good. I want to compare this to the original and see what they changed. I can't find the original. So.
Okay.
And Giuseppe even agrees with us. We should review Raising Cain.
At some point in time, probably.
Sometime. But that's all I'm saying. It's just if you had to ask me for the funniest part of the film, it would be the most enjoyable part of the film was where Joe Piscopo tries to hang himself, but that has nothing to do with humor. The funniest part for me would be the part I mentioned before. What part did I say before? It was almost humorous.
What?
I even forgot now. So that's how much I have to think. I have to think about what's the funniest part of the film for me.
The scene with Lou Albano, Frank the Fixer?
No.
Oh, in the church. Well, yes, that was
the
Lou Albano. But yes, you're right. Ray Sharkey.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's an old gag. It's like an old comedy routine. Do what I do, and then like he gets shot or he does something else, and the other person does the same thing. It's old. It's old as vaudeville. But maybe that's why it's funny, because it was like it was a classic bit. It's just everything else. That was a classic bit. Everything else just felt played. And gangster stuff is especially hard not to feel played, because who's not familiar with the whole gangster cliche? That's why Johnny Dangerously succeeded, because it took the gangster cliche and just turned it on its head and did a straight parody of it and used it. This film just succumbed to it and just kind of withered.
Okay. I'm not gonna listen. It's just gonna be it's gonna be exhausting. It is. If I sit here and
what was your favorite part?
My favorite part in the whole movie? Okay.
Let me rephrase that. What do you think is the funniest part of the film? I told you what I thought was the funniest part of the movie. What do you think is the funniest part of the movie?
See, I don't know about the funniest part. I really like Lou Albano in this. Every little things he does, like when he fucking takes the cake and he just takes it with his hand. And Joe Piscopo is such a pussy. He goes, "Oh, Frank, that's a real good way to cut a cake." It just little things like that. I just chuckle. I don't know why. I can't defend the movie. I would do a bad job at it too. It would be exhausting, because everything that part, where he's driving down the parkway, and he's just throwing food on the dashboard because he talks to his grandma. And he says that his uncle is, oh yeah, he's here, and he's like a made man. He's gonna take care of them, and they're home free. And hey, let's not worry about it anymore. Oh, and to answer your question, the reason why they didn't try and keep killing each other is because Danny DeVito thought his uncle was still alive. He was like, oh, there's no reason to try and kill each other. We're okay. That's when they just started destroying Frank's car.
There's a film reason as to why they didn't keep doing that. What I'm saying, as far as the humor of the film, that is a major point you brought up in the film, and that is where they could have got a lot more humor from. Just the bump, either.
I don't think it would have been funnier if they kept trying to kill each other. I think that would have been boring.
Well, it's not even trying to kill each other, but it's also debating it or bungled attempts, or there was a lot more. There was a lot more that could have been done there, and it's like, and it's almost real. It's almost like they realized, like, oh, you know what? We put this in here, but now I don't have anything. You could have taken that part out of the film, and it would have played just the same, exactly the same.
Yeah, maybe. Sure.
It really would have. I mean, the only other thing you'd have to do is figure out a different reason why they end up killing the waiter in the church. Other than that, I mean, they knew the mobsters were mad at them. It was like a huge setup for a plot point that then was not used for the rest of the film. That's my point. A lot of this film is just build-ups for a joke, and then it doesn't really fully. I mean, now, like there are moments, like you mentioned the phone call when he calls up and says, "Hey, it's your cousin, blah 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 blah." Vincetti, or, and then the aunt or the aunt clicks, just hangs up on him. Just a frozen moment with his facial expression. That's a great moment. That's a funny moment. There are a lot of funny moments in the film, and he kills them with ponderous setups and then running with them too much or not having enough clever moments mixed in together. I just, again, this is why I hate debating comedy or reviewing comedies, because comedy comes down to individual choice of humor, and sometimes it's just things that just you can tell the same joke to say 3 different audiences and get 3 different responses. It's a really subjective, not just to the person, but the environment, the mood. I don't like reviewing comedies for that reason. With that being said, this is why this film's not funny.
Okay, so we're obviously going to have a huge debate on rating this movie on IMDb.
Oh, fuck yeah!
Yeah, we're going to have to meet somewhere in the middle.
Well, let's take a look. On IMDb, it's at 5.6 with almost 4,000 votes.
Okay. Now, I know you're going to say no.
What's your starting bid?
My starting bid? I wouldn't go lower than 7 for me. For me. For you,
7?
I think you might go 5.
I am very, very comfortable giving this film a 5. I think this film embodies what a 5 is. Not great or inspiring in any way, but not shoddy, just a failure.
So can we compromise on a 6 then?
I would like to compromise on a 5.
No, I'm not agreeing with a 5.
Why,
That's just not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Why does this film deserve a 6?
Because I think it's fucking funny. That's all there is to it. I told you, I'm not going to explain. It's just going to be exhausting. Everything that you don't like, I like.
All right.
For the exact opposite reasons.
You finding it humorous and me not finding humorous aside.
Okay.
From a filmmaking standpoint.
Okay.
There's nothing exceptional about the movie.
None. No.
At all.
It's other than the fact. See, other than the fact that.
For De Palma.
Well, yeah.
Sorry,
oh, yeah. No, other than the fact that it's shot in Jersey, and it's shot in the town that I grew up and raised in, I have like these weak spots for the movie. You take that out, you put it in a different. Let's say this isn't even a Jersey movie. I'm agreeing with you, 5, but it's. I don't know. I have a soft spot for the movie, mainly because it's a Jersey film in a town I grew up in. So
okay, just to give an example of what I'm talking about here.
Okay.
Let's go back. I'm gonna just do a brief run through. Let's go back to Carrie. Let's just start with Carrie.
Oh my. Okay.
Carrie.
Yeah.
Current rating 7.4. Maybe a bit much.
I think that's too high.
I don't think I give it more than a 7.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with a 6 actually. I'm not a
on
huge
odd
Carrie
days.
fan.
Yeah, I was just gonna say on odd days I might give it a 6.
For the time period with other horror films being made, maybe a 7. Maybe it was a step above.
Yeah.
The Fury averaging at 6.4. I'm comfortable with that.
I don't remember what we rated that at.
I don't either.
We'd have to listen to the episode, but I wouldn't be surprised if we gave it a 6.
Yeah. So, and The Fury, much more successful a film, albeit its weaknesses. And again, De Palma is a kind of director. He does make slow movies, so that's not a really criminal point. But sometimes slowness works, sometimes it doesn't. Dressed to Kill, which I regret to say I still have never seen. It's on my list.
Dressed to Kill. Who's in that?
That Dressed to Kill.
I don't think I've seen that either. I don't think
Michael
I've seen
Caine,
it either.
Angie Dickinson.
Is that the one where Michael Caine has like a semi-sex scene in there?
I don't recall. I've never
she
seen
seduces him at one point where he's telling her she's like a dirty girl. I think that was that movie.
No idea. I honestly have never seen anything from the film. It came out in 1980. I was way too young to
Does
even.
he play a lawyer or something like that?
I don't know. Honestly, I'll tell you right now.
Okay,
all
I'm
I know
sorry.
about the film is that it's called Dressed to Kill.
Okay. I think that's the movie I'm thinking of, and the only reason I know there's a movie with Michael Caine that has those elements in it, and I think it's that one. But I've never seen it.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say I don't know anything about the film, but at the time period when it came out and my age, I just kind of let it go, and I never went back to it. But it's a famous film, and one of the things that got him, got De Palma into the major spotlight, and it's 7.1.
I think the best film, in my opinion, that De Palma has ever done is Scarface. That's just. I know that's an easy choice, but I also think that it's for what De Palma. I don't think De Palma's directed a better movie. I really don't. I think every level, every cinematic,
I think Phantom of the Paradise.
I think every step of the way, cinematography, just the way it's acted, just the way it's set up, just the way some shots are done, I think Scarface is it.
We're on Blowout now, 1981, and that average is 7.5. That's got a very high score.
That is fucking high.
Well, again, for that, it's the artistry of the film. There's a lot of De Palma technique in there, and
there's a lot of camera stuff in there that was never done
about
before.
the film. It's really more about the filmmaking than about the movie.
It really is.
I'll give you that.
Just like the shot of when the tire does first blow out, of the way it's like panning away from the screen.
Right. So the fact that this film has a lot of De Palma's technical filmmaking expertise, directorial expertise in it, is why the rating is elevated to 7.4. But you would argue that it should be maybe a little bit lower.
Are we talking Carrie or Wise Guys?
Blowout. We're still on Blowout. I just mentioned
we're still on Blowout?
We did. I just mentioned Blowout.
I thought Blowout. I'm sorry. I thought you said Blowout was 7.5.
It is. But you said that's too high for it.
Well, you said 7.4, and I know Carrie was 7.4. That's why I'm getting confused.
I rounded up to 7. It's 7.4.
Don't do that because I'm a very specific person.
7.4. Blowout 7.4 as well. But you're saying that you would be happy with that being a bit lower, like at a 7 or a 6.
Blowout? 7 or 6, I would be okay with Blowout.
Okay, and that's in spite of it having his directorial expertise.
Sure.
Being very noticeable in the film. Okay, Scarface is up at 8.3.
I could go 9 on Scarface easily, but 8.
Maybe
if I was talked into an 8, I would be okay with it because it's very high.
Okay, Body Double.
I haven't seen that.
We just reviewed it recently, though.
No, we didn't.
Didn't we?
No, you did a lot of memes for it.
Oh, that's right.
But I haven't seen that since I was a kid. Like,
all right,
we're talking like maybe 10 or 11 years old. I would have to really watch that again.
That's 6.7 right now. I would personally go 7 with it. I'd understand and go 6 if somebody wanted to argue it. And that, despite its flaws, still has a lot of De Palma's technique and storytelling skills and a lot of subtext involved in this the filmmaking of it. Then we get to Wise Guys, which has none of his technique, no subtext, the script is bland, and the performances aren't that up to par. I argue a 5 just because it is what a 5 stands for, which is an average movie. That is my argument.
Okay. That's a good argument on your end.
But,
and with all of that said, I still think it's funny. I still enjoy all the performances, even if Joe Piscopo is not as good as he probably could be. I'd be willing to go 6.
okay, so you want me to click 6 stars?
Or you can rate it under your own name, not the show's name.
Uh-huh.
You already clicked 5, didn't you?
No.
All right. Episode 172. Wise Guys. Scott and I are very happy you joined us for this one. All right, so you can download the show at Moviesucktastic.com. You can watch the show live there. You can listen to the show. You can go to iTunes and you can download the show there as well. You can leave us voicemail at 908-514-4470. 908-514-4470. If you want to leave us email, the address is themovieguys@Moviesucktastic.com. You can go to our Tumblr page at Tumblr, or Moviesucktastic.tumblr.com. You can go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Moviesucktastic. Or is that one the... which one is Moviesucktastic Pod? Is that Facebook? Anyway.
No,
one of them you made Moviesucktastic Pod. I think it's Facebook. Just do a search in your favorite browser. Search engine. Scoogle. Scott loves Google.
Facebook is just Moviesucktastic. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you're thinking of Strangeland.
Strangeland Pod? Yeah, I'm getting shows mixed up.
Yeah. Moviesucktastic is just Moviesucktastic.
All right. You go to the website, by the way, I mentioning it again, totally brand new. I think you'll enjoy it. Please go there. You can download the free app for your Android or phone, Android phone or tablet, I mean. That's totally free. Everything I said is on the free app. I highly recommend it. It's great to have. And that's about it. So, Scott, any wisdom?
Yes.
What's that?
Hey, Joey, you ain't driving so good.
Oh, it's 2 different movies, but I'll take it. All right, we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.